Hi, welcome back. I'm Larry Long, and this is the second video in my series of types of governments. And this video, I want to focus on democracy, and because probably it's the most common and the easiest for most people to understand. I'm doing this because it seems that some people have forgotten what a real democracy is, and so when discussing types of governments, we often make broad generalizations refer to ideal types as though they exist in pure form. And very few governments, democracies, are pure democracies. However, in reality, few nations operate under a single pure system, and most use a variation of political ideologies like socialism and capitalism, to give just a couple. There's more in a democratic system or a setting. To begin, let's explore the various types of democracy before we delve further into how power is distributed and where conflicts may and do arise. So, a direct democracy sometimes is referred to as a pure democracy. This is where people govern directly, and they do it by voting on laws and policies. It requires a large participation of citizens in politics. And in America, our laws are created by the legislative branch, enforced by the judicial branch, and with the executive branch being responsible for carrying out the laws passed by Congress. And that's crucial. The legislative branch writes the law, which is the House of Representatives and the Senate. The judicial branch enforces those, and the executive branch is responsible responsible. The power structure is set up so that each branch makes sure that the other branch doesn't exceed its power, and that's a pretty good system. And it's a triangle. So if you have too many parties or too many different levels of power, it becomes a great place for conflict. That may sound a little like what is practiced in the U.S., but actually we have a mixture of capitalism and socialism aspects in our policy and in our laws. And that changes from administration to administration. But the laws are permanent for the most part. And it is the executive branch the responsibility to implement policies to make sure that the nation is safe. And there's more to it than that. Well, the next type of democracy I want to talk about is what we kind of refer to as a classical democracy. It refers to a direct democracy developed in ancient times, and this was the Greek city-states, and it lasted, somewhere from like 460 BC to 322 BC. But the difference is it allowed only free males to participate in politics. History tells us, the history books will tell us, that the focus was on liberty, equity, and security. And therein lies the power structure. And if you see only free males can participate, it doesn't really support equity and security for those that are not male or free, which is, as you can guess, leads to disputes. And the Macedonians had a completely different idea, and they ended the first democracy. So popular democracy is a type of democracy based on referendums and other devices of empowerment and concentration of the public will. And we do that a lot in the United States. The public has a huge say in what is passed. So we have the tier system from the local government, state government, and the federal government. And you'll see that the states will pass laws, and when a majority of states pass a law, usually it becomes a federal law. However, federal can pass and do pass laws that control the states. So, however, the majority doesn't always reflect equity and inclusion, and is a point for contention and results in disputes. The power structure here is based on the influence of a popular or the popular movement, which can be very effective. Case in point, Thomas Jefferson did not want a big government. He did not want big business to be in charge. He wanted the government to be controlled by the people, for which Hamilton is referenced as saying that the people are a great beast. And that just kind of shows that the conflict as the framers were setting up the government. So right now we try to have a government that is not controlled by anyone other than the public, the people, but we know for a fact that big business and big government do have an effect on our government, the way that it's processed. Constitutional democracy is what we have in the United States, and it was intended to be confrontational, but without violence. But confrontation can lead to violence and has and throughout our history. Our democracy is a representative democracy system with two parties. Right now, it's two parties. Those parties have changed over time, Democrat and Republicans. We often say that the pendulum swings in both directions, meaning that the political power changes with the will of the people. So you'll see that we have, the majority of Republicans for one administration, the majority of the Democrats in another. But what works best is when we have a mixture. When both houses are not controlled by one party, and the executive branch is not controlled with the same parties as the House or the Senate. We're governed by the rule of law, and that establishes checks and balances, and we do that so we don't have arbitrary decisions made by an individual. No one leader by law is allowed to make major decisions, and I don't want to get into all that at this moment, but you can see the power dynamics change, and it starts to look like when a leader is making arbitrary decisions outside the rule of law. Our laws provide for a process to remove those individuals. We have a constitutional framework, which again is the supreme law of the nation, and provides the system of checks and balances. And that's very important to talk about the system of checks and balances, because it gives the citizens power through the court system and a process what we call due process in our court system. We have free and fair elections, and active citizen participation and the protection of our rights are provided by the Bill of Rights, and active citizen advocacy, civil engagement, and public discourse. We are one of the few countries where peaceful, nonviolent public demonstrations are not only allowed, but are encouraged. This provides power to the people and can shift the power dynamics of an administration. If something is not basically liked by the people, they usually take to the street to demonstrate. We currently find ourselves in the 2026 midterm election year. And if some of the things that I have talked about sound familiar, please leave a comment below. And thank you for your time, and I'll get back with the next series by next Friday. Thank you. Bye.